Welcome to our Tuesday webinar for Claritysoft Focus Training. As I said, we're doing reports today. We're using the reports module in Claritysoft, and we're going to create 3 different reports. As you work with these, you'll see that the process that you follow is very much the same steps. It's just which module are you pointing to, what fields are you pulling in, what filters are you creating for that report. These are very quick and easy to create, and for the most part can do a lot of the kinds of reports that you want. So the 3 samples that we're going to create today is a last touch contact audit. We have a last touch date field in Claritysoft that automatically updates itself when you complete an activity in the database. And so what we're going to do is create a report that's going to help us get a list of those contacts that we have not touched for a while, and then create that list so that you can go down and start contacting those customers or clients. The second one will be an opportunities forecast. We'll be looking at what opportunities we have that have a close date of this month. We can also set other time filters, but we'll be looking at this month so that we can see, well, what opportunities do we anticipate closing this month and how much are they worth? And then the last one is a team activity tracking. One of the things in Claritysoft, as you all know, you are able to track all the activities that you do, your phone calls that you make, your emails that you send, meetings that you have, whatever activity types you have created in the database, and being able to run a report either weekly or monthly or daily is very helpful, because then you can see what either you are doing or your team is doing and can keep track of that. So that's the last one we'll create, is an activity report that will allow you to see that information. All right, so with that, let me bring up my Claritysoft. So as I said, the first report that we want to create is this last touch date for the contacts. Now the last touch date will appear both at the account level and at the contact level. So this would be the date that the last completed activity was done. At the account level, excuse me, this would be for any contact at that account. So if you had 5 contacts at that account and you just spoke with one of them on the 7th, then it's going to show up there for the at the account level as the most recent last touch date. If you go to contacts, then you're looking at your people separately, and so you will have a last touch date for each individual person here. And right now, if you look at my columns, you can see I don't have the last touch date in view. So I would want to do that, just because whenever you're doing a filter or anything in the list, it's helpful to have the column in the list view, the data column, so that you can see that you did it correctly. So just as a quick review, to change your column view here, you go over here to the, what I call the vertical ellipsis button, and click on column settings. And then on the left, I can scroll down until I see the last touch date field and drag it to the right side. Now I can place it anywhere that I want to place it. So if I want to put it right here next to the contact name, I can do that. Also, while you're in here, again, just as a review, at the bottom of the page, you can set how many records you want to see per page. The default in the database is 20. I like to set it to 100 just because I like to be able to scroll a little bit if I want to see more records per page. And then I'll click the apply button, and we will now see the last touch date here. So that just helps me. It doesn't really have anything to do with the report right now, but just so you know that it's there. All right, so let's go to the reports module. And in Claritysoft, just again as an aside, we have 3 ways to create reports. We have the reports module, we have advanced reports, and we have Excel reports. The reports module, the ones that you create there are probably the easiest ones to create, but at the same time, because they're so easy, they may also be the least sophisticated. You can get subtotals and things like that on fields that are numeric, so you can get counts of other fields, but you can't put formulas in there. If you wanted to put a formula in there that calculated every time you ran the report, that's not possible in one of these reports. The advanced reports are found under the Tools menu here, and they are, I guess, where are they? They're not turned on. The advanced reports are under that toolbar, and these will be a little more sophisticated in that you can create your design layout. It doesn't have to be columnar. It can be more like a form. You can also include calculations in those reports. So that's another one to explore. And then the most sophisticated one that gives you the greatest capabilities are the Excel reports. These are a little bit more difficult to create, but you also can get lots of very sophisticated types of reports that can have different formulas in the templates that you create. So today we're using just the reports module, which is a good place to start and gives you a lot of capability in getting the lists that you want out of your database. So over here we have the different, what we call folders. So these gray lines represent a folder, and each module has its own folder. And then within the folder, there are reports. Now mine, this one especially, is very full of a bunch of sample reports that need to be cleaned up. But you can see you've got accounts and activities and contacts. So each of the modules has its own folder. And when you create a report, you can save it in one of the module folders, or you also can create your own custom folder and give it a name. So that's entirely up to you how you want to do that. Today, because I am attempting to clean up this list of reports, I am going to create my own custom folder, and then I can have a little more control here. But you can see you've got your name of your report. It'll tell you what module it's associated with, what type of report it is, who created it, and then the date that it was created, okay? And so up here in the upper right, we have the new report button. I'm going to click on this little triangle first, the down pointing arrow, and I'm going to create a new folder. All right. Now, don't try to type an apostrophe there like Susan's reports, because it won't let you save it. So just don't use apostrophes. System doesn't like that. So now I have my own custom folder, which is all the way at the bottom of the list. And when any new reports that I create today, I can save into this folder. And I know a question is going to come up. Can you move this? No, you cannot. It's always at the bottom of the list, any of the custom folders that you create. So maybe in the future. All right, so my next step is to create a new report. So I just click on the button. First thing I have to do is connect the report to a module. Well, the first report we're creating is a last touch for the contacts. So I want to go to the contacts module. Then I click the Save button. Now when you click Save here, you do not have to give your report a name. It's merely connecting the report to the module. Once we get here, we now have some tabs, starting with the report type. So what we'll be doing here is just working our way across to tab to tab to tab as we create our report. So you'll follow the same process for every report that you create. So your first step is decide, well, what report type do you want? You have 3. Tabular report, which is simply columns. So the columns will have headings, and then there will be a list underneath of your data. There's no grouping. You can sort by one of the columns, but there is no grouping here, so it's really just a basic list that you get out. A summary report allows you to group by a particular field, like by the owner field or by a date field or by the opportunity stage or something, whatever module you're in. So most of the time you're doing summary reports in here, and then for each group you can get subtotals of counts of the number of records, or if you have a numeric field you can get a subtotal of the value of the numeric field. And then the last one here is a time-based report. This one allows you to group by date. So you could run an activity report, and you could, if you ran it for the whole month, you could group it by the week and say, I want to see what activities were done per week, or I want to see how many activities were done per day last week. So that's a nice one too if you're trying to get things out to find out when things were accomplished. We're going to do a summary report for this one. So we choose that. And then the next step is to choose what data columns we want in our report. So you click on the Columns tab, and then you're allowed to select the different fields. All your Claritysoft fields are here, plus at the bottom of the list you will find any custom fields that you have added to your database. So you may have 10 or 15 or 20 custom fields down here. So you have access to all of those fields. Then what you do is you just decide, well, I want the account, and I can click on it and then click this little triangle to send it over to the selected column side. And I can continue to do that where I could click and click. But a little bit of a shortcut is to say, well, I would like the contact, and then I'm going to hold down the Control key with my left hand on the keyboard, and I'm going to say I would like the email for the person because I'd like to see their email address. I would like the, oops, sorry about that, phone number. So I'm going to hold Control again. I may want the owner field so I know which sales rep, and I can even group it this way. Maybe I want to bring over their cell phone number too. So I'm trying to give the sales rep all the contact information they might need. And then again, like I said, any other fields that you feel are good. Whoops, I didn't mean to go that far. And then when I click the little triangle, all of the fields go over to the right-hand side in one step. So you can do it one at a time, or you can select them. Now, over here then, I can decide what order I want these in. So let's say if I want to group these by the owner, I'm going to move the owner to the top position, will be the leftmost column in my report. And then I have account name, contact, email, mobile phone. Maybe I'll put the phone number up here and the mobile next and the email last. So you can move these around the way you want. Then I go to my group columns, and I'm going to group these by the owner. And here, I don't have any numeric columns in my, or fields in my list. So I can't really do anything with sums and averages, but what I can do here is click in here to get a total number of records, okay? And that will give me counts, like how many contacts that I pull out, how many accounts that I pull out. And I see that Anita has a question. Can you create a report with multiple modules? In the reports module, no, you cannot. You can only pull from one module. However, in the Excel reports, yes, you may pull data from multiple modules and then you can combine it into one sheet on your in your Excel template. So no here, no in the advanced reports, but yes in the Excel reports. Okay? All right, so next step, summary of columns. Again, I don't have any numeric columns, so I can't really do anything here at all, so I can skip that. Then the filter criteria. Now this is where you get the power for your report, especially with the time-based filters, because the time-based filters are set up so that they roll with you. If you create a report for all of, I'm going to go to activities for last week, it rolls forward with you. When next week becomes, or when this week becomes last week, the report still is doing the same time frame. Once you set the time frame up or the time filter, you don't have to keep coming back in here and resetting the date, which is wonderful because you just let it go and it just goes with you every week. It moves forward, or every month, or year to date. When it's next year, it just starts year to date over again for the new year. Okay? So what we want to do here is pick the last touch date as our date. Then we can say, we could say this week, this month, this quarter, this year, but what we want is the previous 30 days or the last 30 days or before. Let's see here. I want to see what I want to do. I'm going to put prior to, and then I can put 30 days. So this is going to go back prior to 30 days. It's going to go backwards 30 days, and that 30 days is okay, but prior to 30 days, so 31 backwards is what it's going to pull. All right? Now, a standard filter is if you wanted to filter on any other field, like you only wanted to pull those people that were in a certain territory or region or a certain type, then you could do that. But here we just want to pull any contact. We don't really care. So we're not going to set a standard filter. And on this particular report, we're not going to add a chart. We're just going to keep it simple. So we have set everything up. Now we're going to click Save, and now this time it will prompt us for a name. So I'm going to put say before 30 days. And you could put a description in here for yourself, and then this is where you select your folder. So if you have created your custom folder like I did, I can go down and put it in my folder, or I could put it in the contacts folder. It doesn't matter where I put it, but I'm going to put it in mine and then save. So I have completed my report. I'm back to my reports list. Scroll all the way to the bottom. And to run the report, you simply click on it. You will get a preview. Okay. And so this is good because it at least shows you that you have some records. Sometimes the preview comes up blank and then you think, whoops, I had to go back and fix the filter. But this way, if you get some records, and down here you said it shows only the first 50 records. So it at least shows you what you have. It shows you your layout and everything. And then you can choose up here in the upper right to download it to Excel, a CSV file, or a PDF file. Well, I'm going to go to Excel. And then down here in the lower left, I get my button. So now I get my Excel spreadsheet, and you can see here is my title that I gave the report. If I wanted to change this now that it's in Excel, I could change the title if I wanted to. All this is changeable now. And then it's grouped by the owner. So you can see Allison here has 15 records that are prior to 30 days. Now, I made a mistake on this. Somebody can type in the Q&A what I left out. What field did I leave out? I kind of did it on purpose. But what I forgot to put in was the actual last touch date so that the person could see, well, how long ago was it when I last contacted this person, so they'd have a sense of it. So I need to go back and fix that. So that was the reason I did it, was so you could go back and fix it. But you can see it's doing a count of the number of records, and it gives you all the information that you pulled out if it's in the database, and if things are missing, that just means that data is not in the database. And at the bottom here, I have 169 records. Now that's pretty bad because this is just sample data that's pretty old. But anyway, I'm going to close this. We will go back here to our report. And of course, the thing that you need to learn is, well, if you make a mistake in your report, how do you fix it? It's always what you need to learn with computers. So I need to fix this. So what I do now is I go to the button here that's called the row action button, and you'll see edit. Takes me back. It doesn't go back to the report type because it assumes I'm doing the same report type, but if you decided you wanted to change your report type, you could. You can go back here and add your columns, and what I forgot to bring over was the last touch date. So I could see the date. So I've added that. Everything else is the same and okay, so I can simply go down here and click save. It will save it with the same name. Notice I could have done a save as if I wanted a different version. Now when I run it, there's my last touch date, which is what I would want to see. And then if I download it again, this report will make a little more sense. And then you can see just how old some of this data is. No, Nancy's asking the question, do all members of a team have access to customer reports that I might set up, or does each person have to set up their own special reports? No, you can, again, some of this depends on your access profiles that you create for your users, whether they can see reports or not. But if your users are seeing all the records in the database, then they would be able to see any reports that you create. And you also have the ability to give them permission to be able to create reports or not create reports. You can control that. So you may be the one who creates all the reports. They use them. They cannot edit reports or delete or create their own. So that's up to you. I know Richard's out there, and he and I were talking about that this morning earlier. So here's my report again, and here you can see my last touch date, and now it makes much more sense to the salesperson who's going to look at this and say, oh wow, it's been, you know, a year and a half since I talked to this person. Here it's been 3 years. So that makes much more sense. Okay, so very easy to do, and then I could do a save as with the Excel file and save this and have it. All right, so that's report number 1. Report number 2, the opportunities report. What we want to do here is we want to find out what opportunities do we have that are anticipated being closed this month. Well, this month is August, okay? So I can you know, most of what you're doing in these reports, you can kind of test it out in the modules first by running filters. So if I go back to my opportunities module, and at the top of the screen here, you have a drop-down list of different filters that are built in, or views. You can create your own custom views, which is another webinar we do. But right now, this is showing me all opportunities, no matter whether they're won, lost, closed, no matter how old they are. If I wanted to choose the ones that are active this month, then I click on this, and what this is going to show me is a list of all the opportunities that I currently have that have a close date of August. So basically, this is the report that we're going to create. Okay, so you can look at these here. You can do all active ones. All active would be anything that's not won, lost, or no decision, but it doesn't matter when the close date is. So you can see these go all the way back into 2017, 2016. They're still open according to their sales stage. Okay, so these filters are here. You can test out your theories here, and then you can go, you know, create your report. So that's where we're headed. So we're going to go back to reports and new report. And then this time we'll select the opportunities module. Now, this is maybe another question that might come up here. What's the difference between opportunities and opportunities details? The opportunities module will show you all of the information for the opportunity record, including your custom fields. The opportunity details would also include product line item information that you would have on the products and services tab. So you can bring in the line item products into a opportunities details report if you're using that. Okay, and the same thing with quotes and quote details and sales details. Those would bring in the product information. So that's the difference there. All right, save. This time I'm also going to create a summary report. This is what you do 99% of the time. And the columns for this one, I want to bring over the account, and I want to bring over the close date. I want the amount. I want the name of the opportunity. I want the owner. And I want the stage, because I'm going to group these by their sales stage. And then again, if you have custom fields, which I don't really have very interesting ones, you can bring any custom fields in. These over here, and I'm going to move these around a bit. Count. Oops, I forgot the contact. So you can see it's very easy to manipulate all of this. And once you understand it, it's pretty intuitive to work with as well. And actually, I'm going to move this one to the top. There we go. So I've got my stage, which is my sales stage, where it is, the opportunity name, the account, the contact close date, the owner, and the amount. So now I can go to group columns, and this time I would like to group it by the stage. Now I could also group it by the owner. It kind of depends on what I want, you know, how I want to see it. Do I want to see the opportunities per owner and what each sales rep is doing? Or do I want to get an overall picture of what stages are we at, so I know, okay, this one's at a very early stage, this one's at the next level, next level, next level kind of thing. So, and again, you could create two reports, one for grouping by the owner or sales rep and one for grouping by the sales stage. Now in this set of fields too, I have the amount field, which is a numeric field, so I can get a sum. I could get an average, a minimum, or maximum. Let's do the average so we could see what our average opportunity is worth, and we'll get a total for what the real value is of all of them. And then this will include my subtotals, okay, and the number of records. Then I can go to the summary, and this will give me a grand total at the bottom. So I'll do my sum and my average. And then our filter criteria. So here, we're basing this off the close date, and we're saying we want it for this month. So I want to know what opportunities do I have that are supposed to close this current month. So I can do this month. Now you could do 2 months, you could do last 2 months, you know, whatever. Last month would show you things in July. Nothing in August, only things in July. Last 2 months would be June and July. So again, experiment with these to see how they all work here. Now the one thing here, this date range, if you put in a date range here, this does become a fixed date range. So this one would not roll forward with you, but maybe there is a report that you might want to run that you want it for a particular date range. You never want it to change. You're going to run it once, you know, or if you do run it again, you never want the date range to change. So you can put a specific date range in here. Here, year to date would be 2018. As soon as you hit January 1st, 2019, that becomes year to date. So you'll basically drop to 0 and start again. Then you could take, if you wanted to get your result for 2018, then you could make a second version of the report and say last 1 year. And then you'd have the current year, year to date, and last year, the full year. So a lot of ways you can use this. So we're doing this month. Again, we're not going to filter out anything here. And we are going to add a chart, however, so you can see how to do that. So this can be added to your report, and you need to figure out what you want for your x-axis and your y-axis. And in this case, we want to know, we're doing the report grouped by the sales stage, but what we want to know is per owner or per sales rep how much revenue they're bringing in. So the x-axis here is going to be the owner. That's your horizontal axis. Your y-axis is your value axis, and so that's going to be the only value one that we have here is amount. And then you get to select the function, a sum, an average, a count, a min, or max. So we want to do a sum. So we want a sum of the amount per owner, okay? Then you click to select your chart type, and a bar chart would be horizontal bars, column would be vertical bars, pie, you know, so we'll just do a bar chart. Oh no, let's do a column chart. And then the chart position you can put either at the top of the report or at the bottom. We'll do it at the top, and then you can also put it in a new worksheet in the workbook or put it on the same one. I like to have it on the same one, so that's what we're going to do there. So we've now set everything up for our report. We're going to save it and give it a name. And again, I'm going to place it in my custom folder. And then we go to our report. Click on it. I've got some data here, so I'm going to now download it to Excel. I always forget to click on the button in the bottom left. I sit and wait for it to pop up. So here is our report. So we can see here at the top, we have our sales reps listed. We have the total amount that they have for opportunities they're supposed to close this month. And then you can see the chart here. Then down below, we have our opportunities grouped by the sales stage. And for each sales stage, we have the name of the opportunity, which could be the number that it automatically puts in, or it could be the name that you've given it, and then you've got the owner and the close date and your account and contact. So that is there. Now, one of the things we do have here, this one is already one. So somewhere in our database, this is not correct. We need to get rid of this one. All right, so we can do that. Because what we want are the active opportunities, okay? And we did not specify to not include ones that are one. So again, we can go back and fix that. So we go back to our report, and we're going to edit it. So the issue that we have is actually with the filter. The time filter is fine. It's the standard filter. We want to not include the sales stage of one because that's not an active opportunity anymore, okay? So what we do here is we're going to select stage, and then you get a drop down here of all these logical operators. Well, equal is not what we want. This is not equal. So what we want to say is we want to say the stage is not equal to 1. The other one that you could use here, if you're not real sure, if you have a longer sales stage name and you can't remember when you're sitting here exactly how you spelled it, then you could do not contains. And then whatever you type, if it's, if it's something other than it's like won the deal, you could still type just one there. So I use contains and not contains a lot to free that up. So we've got that. Now we're going to save it. And we'll see if we get a better result. Okay, so we did get rid of the one opportunity. So if I download this again. So you can see, you test it. If it's not exactly what you want, you figure out what you have to fix and go back and edit it and either add a new column or move columns around or change the filter is usually what you're going to end up doing so that you get the report that you want. And there we go. So we now do not have that one sales stage in here. So our numbers should be more correct now. Okay. So that's that one. All right. Activity report. So for this one, we want to get all of the activities that were completed in the last 30 days, or some people might want to do the last week. So again, new report. This time we're pointing to the activities module. Save. We're going to do a summary report again. Actually, you know what? Since we're going to do this 30 days, let's do a time-based one. And then we choose our columns again. So we want the account, we want the contact, we want the activity, we want the completed date, we want the owner, we want the subject, and you might want the start date, perhaps. It's probably the same as the completed date, but not necessarily. And then the other thing that you can choose to bring into your activity report, a lot of people like to bring in the notes so they can see the notes that the person has made, or you can see your own notes. The only thing you have to be careful with this one is when you're saving emails back to Claritysoft and emails come into the activity report, you're going to get the notes is going to have the whole text of the email, which can really make it kind of bulky. So you can bring in the notes, but you might want to have two versions of the activity report, one with notes, one without, or one with a filter that excludes email activities and has all other activities in there. So you can decide on that. So again, I'm going to group these. I want them to be grouped by the owners, so I'm going to move this up to the top. And then I have the account, contact, maybe I'll do the activity up here, okay, and start date, completed date, maybe put the subject up here. And then I'm going to group it by owner. Oops. Oh, I can't group by owner because I chose a time-based report. So I'm going to group it by week because I'm going to do this backwards 30 days. So that'll group it by week, or I could go back 4 weeks or something like that. So when you choose a time-based report, you're going to group this way by a time. All right. Again, we don't have any numeric field, but I'm going to click here to get counts. So we don't need to do this. And then our filter criteria is the completed date is the last 30 days. Well, let's just do it this way. Let's do the last 4 weeks. Okay. Now here would be if you wanted to exclude the activity, the email activities, you would choose activity is not equal to email, if that's what you wanted to do. And then that would eliminate getting all those crazy big notes. Okay. And that's probably fine because I don't think I have anything saved here anyway. So let's do that. This is activity by week. And again, I shall save it in my folder. So there we go. Week of July 3rd, week of August 2nd. I probably don't have anything going back further than that. So this is probably about right. This is a demo database, so you don't work in it very often and you don't really get activities in here to keep it up to date. And while we're talking about this, the completed date, I do want to clarify this for everybody, especially if you're just starting to use Claritysoft. Where did my button go? Did I download it? There it is. The completed date is the date that you mark the activity completed. And it will be the current system date of the computer. So for example, Here's one actually right here. This one says a start date of 7/7 and a completed date of 7/18. That means that, you know, I might have done this on the 7th, but I didn't mark it completed until July the 18th. And so with the day that I marked it completed, it was July the 18th according to the computer, and that's when it gets marked completed. Same thing down here. This is one from 2-3 years ago that was in the system, and I marked it completed on the 7th of August. So even though I may have done this on October 1st, 2015, I didn't mark it completed, so the system's been hanging on to that as an open activity for 3 years, and now I finally marked it as completed. So depending on how your team works, you could run your activity report based on the start date rather than the completed date. The only thing with, if you do run it off the completed date, it kind of inspires everybody to get their activities all completed on the day that they actually do them, and they don't wait till the end of the week or the weekend or something like that. They know that they're getting a weekly report run, and they better have their activities marked as completed on the day that they did them. So it's maybe a good thing to do it, but I just want everybody to understand that, because you cannot change this date. The system does it, and that you can't change it, okay? So that's a good thing to understand. All right, so we did our 3 reports, and a couple other things to show you. Oh, I guess I did run it twice. All right, I thought so. One of the other wonderful things about these reports, or any of the reports in the system, is you are able to schedule them to run automatically and be sent to someone. So for example, if I wanted to run this opportunities every month, okay, so I'd know what opportunities I have going, I can click on the row action button and go to schedule. And then you choose how often you want it to recur. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So let's say I want this to run monthly. I can repeat it every 1 to however many months, okay? I can start it on today, or I might want to wait and start it on 8/31, let's say, or 9/1, actually maybe 8/31, and then that would pick up the whole month of August. And then you can say never ends, or it could end after so many occurrences, or it ends on, and then you choose here the report format that you want. Do you want to send the person a PDF file, an Excel file, or a CSV? So I would pick this, and then in this box here, you can type as many email addresses as you like in here. So if you have multiple people to send these to, you type an email address, you press a comma and a space, and then you put the next one. And then you can send a whole list of things. And then when you save this, right here, you can tell that a report is scheduled by the little clock that's now next to it. So this says, so Nancy's asking, this report will run for the next 5 years. This report will run forever because I did not set any end date for it. So see, it says it ends never. So it's going to run as long as you have Claritysoft going. And I have 2 reports that from sample databases that I received. Now this will be a 3rd one, where they run once a week, and they run on for Monday morning. So they run Monday morning. So usually around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I can hear an email come in on my cell phone if I'm still awake. And that's my weekly report coming in. And so I have my weekly sales report as one of them. So now I have a monthly one. Now what this one is going to do, because it's starting today, it's going to run on the 14th of every month. If I set this to run at the end of the month, then it's going to run at the end of the month, okay? If I set it to run weekly, and then I say I want it to run weekly, and I want it to start on the 20th, then it would run on the weekly, and then I choose which day of the week I want it to run. So I want it to run on Monday. So that means I would get an updated opportunities for this month with a close date of this month every week, which makes sense because then I see how many other opportunities maybe got added in from last week to this week. So that's how that works. And it works really nicely. It just generates it, sends it out, and you can forget about it because it shows up. And even your sales team, if they have an activity report that needs to be sent to somebody once a week, once they get their activities done, they can forget about them, because if the report is set up to run to be in the sales manager's inbox on Monday morning for the previous week, they're done. They don't have to waste any time building a report anymore of their weekly activities. It's all set up for them, and as long as they complete the activities in the database in the time span, then they're done. It's all good. So really nice to be able to do. And you can do the same thing with your Excel reports that you create. They can be scheduled, and also the advanced reports if you use that. So very nice to be able to do. The other thing that's here is you can lock a report so that people can't change it. And then it gets, you're the one that can edit it and they can't. So that locks it in. So any questions? Actually, the report I set up is a monthly report, Nancy. But if you set up a yearly report, then you can schedule it to run once a year. So you could have a report that's a year-to-date, and you would set it to run on December 31st, so that it picks up the entire year through December 31st. And then it wouldn't run again until December 31st of next year, and it would pick up the whole year. So it depends on how often you want it to run. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions? If you have any, please put them in the Q&A panel, and I'll be happy to answer them if you have any others. But hopefully this will get you started with thinking about the kinds of reports that you can create and start to explore it a little bit. And, any module. And a lot of it is just sit down and think, well, what do I want? Sometimes a kind of report you might want, you may need to go back to your database and create a custom field that has some data in it that is a way that you want to filter the report or group the report. So if you run into that situation, you can, if you're an admin user in the system, you can go back to your settings and customization and add that custom field, and then put the data in for all your records, and then you'd be able to create the report the way you want. So actually sometimes when I'm working with someone, one of my questions to them is, what are the kinds of reports you want out? Because then that helps me help them figure out what custom fields you need in your database. So if you're still in the design process of your database, that's a way to think about it, is to maybe think, what are the reports we want? What are the columns of data that we want? Do we have them in the database? And then that helps you figure it out. So any other questions? I don't see any coming in. So let me see here. I always like to give you our contact information. As usual, we do have our support team. that you're free to call at any time at the number here, 888-838-7487, extension 2, or email them at support@claritysoft.com. They'll be happy to help you if you are working, if you're in the midst of your onboarding implementation process with either Linda or myself, then you are, contact us and we'll be happy to help you with any questions that you have as you're working and getting started. And we hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.